And good morning, actually, is good afternoon. Let me start that again. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the COCA FY23 Grant Programs Workshop. I'm Kathleen Spihar, the Executive Director of the Council on Culture and Arts, and I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you here today as to the informational session of our FY23 Grants Program. We are incredibly grateful that we have a grants program here in Tallahassee, Leon County, and we thank the City of Tallahassee and Leon County for their continued support of this program. It's because of their support that we're able to do this. So thank you, City, and thank you so much, County. I'm just going to I'm just thrilled to see you here. Where people are just still joining the room. So, but we were very respectful of your time. So we want to make sure that there's plenty of time for Hillary to give her presentation and then to also take questions. And I believe the chat function is working, so you can put your questions in the chat. If you also want to say hello to each other, because I'm not sure when you've been in the same room at the same time recently, but please feel free to go ahead and do that. We're gonna myself, Erica, and Hillary will be here with you for the whole entire hour. And if you have anything else that you need to share with us, please go ahead and feel free to do that too. So again, thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate the work that you do in the community. And I especially can't thank you enough for getting out there, and especially in the last 2 years, not giving up, being innovative, being creative, and finding all these different ways to work together and to also ensure that arts, culture, history, and heritage is a #1 priority here in Tallahassee and Leon County. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop talking and turn this over to the star of the show, which is Hillary Crawford, our grants manager extraordinaire, to talk about this year's program. So take it away, Hillary.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. And if you're not able to reach everyone through the chat function, you can also use the Q&A and we can see that. And so I invite you, as you have questions, to enter them into the Q&A, and I will try to make sure that those are all answered at the end. There's a Q&A section. I also want you to know that I'm going to be sending out the PDF of these slides, and we're also going to have a recording available on our website. So don't feel like you have to write everything down. And then there'll also be a link at the end where you can set up a one-on-one consultation with me if you feel like you have more questions. So you are here today to learn about COCA's FY23 grant programs. We have 2 programs, the Cultural Grant Program and the Cultural Tourism Marketing Grant Program. Let's see if I can get my phone to that.
Hillary, I've also put my text number in the chat. So if anybody has a problem
Awesome.
or whatever, and I'm
Thank
also
you.
monitoring the chat.
And that's Erica Thaler. She's our marketing extraordinaire. You will get to know her if you get a marketing grant because she has to approve your logo usage. She's the logo police, but we are also grateful to have Erica here today. If you don't know about COCA, we are your local arts agency. And what that means is in Florida statute, every county has the authority to designate an organization as its local arts agency. And so we are, the agency that works on behalf of arts and culture as it relates to our city and our county partners. So we do a lot of promotion, which is kind of where Erica comes in. We have the Tallahassee Arts Guide, which is an amazing resource. There's an artist directory on there. There's events on there. So if you're not already posting your events there, I would encourage you to do so. And we also come in when there are things like cultural plans and, working with the city with public art and some of their neighborhood plans. So that is what we do at COCA. And then additionally, we do some programming at the City Hall Gallery and also at the gallery at the airport. So we are contracted by both Leon County and the City of Tallahassee to manage grant programs that support the arts and cultural community. And these programs have been around for a while, and they were created for you all, with you all, on behalf of those entities. Something that's different is that now all of our funding for our grant awards is done through a penny that we receive from the tourist development tax. So per the statute, the definition of tourism is a tourist is a person who participates in trade or recreation activities outside the county of his or her permanent resident or rents or leases transient accommodations. So in order for your program to be eligible for funding through our programs using the tourist development tax, you need to be doing some sort of activity or service or event that is available and marketed to tourists. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. So originally, COCA's cultural grant was created not just with the tourist development tax. So in addition to that tourism requirement, we have some goals for the program that we have set forth. So we want your programming to offer art, history, or cultural programs with exemplary standards and objectives, provide educational opportunities in arts, culture, and/or history for young people or adults, or serve a special or diverse population or need, fill a unique niche, or engage the community in the creative or artistic process. And funding for the cultural grant is based on your operating budgets. And we'll talk a little bit about how that looks in a minute. The other program that we have is the Cultural Tourism Marketing Grant. And this is specifically a marketing grant for you to market your programs to persons outside of Leon County. And we'll ask you to let us know where you're targeting your marketing to and how you are marketing that. And most of your funds are going to be spent on that marketing. You can apply for up to $3,000 this year in that program. And that's kind of where Erica comes in, and she'll help you out as needed with your logo and such. So for all of COCA's programs, in order to be eligible, you have to either be a 501c3 Florida nonprofit, or you can be an entity associated with a state or municipality FEID. But the child of that parent organization would need to be a cultural organization. For the not-for-profit, you're expected to have at least 60% of your operating cash originating from earned income. And so operating cash refers to expenses related to day-to-day operations. It includes programs, overhead, and administration, but not capital campaigns, endowment funds, cash reserves, or contingency funds. So when you're doing your budget, you're going to be doing your operating budget, and you won't, include liabilities or assets or things like that. And then earned income is admissions, contract services, corporate contributions, sponsorships, foundation grants, competitive government grants from federal, state, city, or county governments. However, it does not include government sources, like if you're a part of a state entity and they're paying your staff. So you would separate out your earned income from that state support. Now, in addition to that, you need to have arts and history programming as your primary purpose. You need to have completed at least one fiscal year of programming in your discipline. And that's a new thing. Previously, it was longer than that. So we're happy that we're able to reach more people by moving to one fiscal year. The activities and events and programs that you're presenting need to be take place and be produced in Leon County. You need to have a professional staff, which can be either paid or volunteer. Whatever you're doing, your programs need to be open and accessible to the public. You need to be committed to and have a plan in place for accessibility for people with disabilities, including compliance with ADA. And then in addition to arts and culture, you must have as one of your primary purposes the attraction of tourists. And that's shown through the events that you're offering and how you're marketing them. And that marketing needs to be done to visitors outside of Leon County. And your budget needs to clearly indicate that you're utilizing out-of-market advertising or promotion. And you need to track and report the numbers of visitors that you serve. And you may not receive funding from both the tourism grant program that Visit Tallahassee does and COCA for the same program. So previously, at least with the marketing grant, it was worded that you couldn't double dip in the sense that the same expenditures could not be submitted to both, but the county policy changed last year. So now if you have a program that you're applying to tourism for, you can't apply to us for the same program.
Hillary, there's a couple questions. Did you want to answer them now or wait till the end? There's one in the chat and there's a couple in the Q&A.
I'll probably just do it at the end.
Okay.
So I'll just say this right away. Someone asked why the grant deadlines were moved up. The grant deadlines were moved up because we need to be able to get you the money as soon as possible. So previously deadlines were later, but there's a lot that has to happen between when you apply and when we get everything submitted, have the panel review it, get it approved by the board, and get it approved by the TDC. So if we have it too late, you actually will be in the middle of your fiscal year and won't have any money. So that's why the grant deadlines were moved up. So for cultural grant only, well, this says professional staff, but I guess it's actually for both. But you also have to have a governing board of directors. You have to be able to demonstrate the receipt of your community support through subscriptions, memberships, earned income, foundation grants, or other private fundraising. And you have to produce arts and cultural programs that are regularly available to the public throughout the year. So the difference is if you have an event, the event can be applied, you can apply for the marketing grant for that. But for the cultural grant, you must have a regular season of year-round programming. And then you also need to have documented statistics on attendance and participation for your programs that represent a broad community impact. And that kind of gets into those goals that we talked about at the beginning for the COCA grant program. Let me see if I can. Yay. So earlier I stated that you would be looking at your operating budget in order to figure out what you're able to request for the cultural grant. So each level, there's 4 groups. There's group 4, group 3, group 2, and group 1. When you go in and you complete your budget in the online system, you will have a number that will be your allowable operating income. And based on what that number is, wherever it falls in the first column, either up to 50,000, 50 to 499, 500 to 1,499,999, or 1.5 and up, you will then take a percentage of that number, and that's in the third column. It'll either be 50% up to $10,000, 20% up to $33,000, 10% up to $70,000, or 10% up to $160,000. And if you have questions about that, I can talk to you one-on-one if you need help with that. I also mentioned that the state partner organizations were eligible to apply. So if you are a state partner general or educational, and what that means is that you do not have at least 60% of your income as earned income, then you can apply to group 3 and you can request up to $15,000. If you're a destination, that means that you have more than 60% of your income is earned. Then you would use that cash funding, not the state, but the cash part, and use that to calculate your request and apply to the appropriate group. And if you need help with that, I can help you with that too. So eligible expenses. The cultural grant is a little bit different from the marketing grant because you can fund all kinds of expenses, but they have to be directly related to your tourism related activity. And so one of the things that you might spend it on, personnel, so it could be administrative, artistic, or programmatic, technical production. That would be a portion of a staff salary that's directly related to the programming and or promotion of the tourist related activities, events, and programs. Sometimes you might have those people as contract employees, but if you're a smaller organization and you have full-time employees that are completing those tasks, then it would be the portion of their salary that directly relates to that activity. Outside fees and services, artistic, that would be where you would contract curators, directors, choreographers, etc. Those would be people that instead of getting a W-2, they would get a 1099. Outside fees and services other, that would be firms or services that are not employees, but that you work with specifically for the tourist related projects. Any expenses that are related to the exhibition or production or event. So exhibit rentals, royalties, printing and graphic design, sets and costumes, etc. Educational programs and materials, those would be, educational programs would have to be, open to the public. So it wouldn't be like an after school program or something like that. But if you were doing educational programs in, correlation to your tourism event, then that would be an eligible expense. And then also project space rental. So if you have to lease a space to put on your play or, have a concert, you could use the cost associated with renting that space for the performance. Travel would only be for outside contract persons. So this would be, guest artists or technicians. And so bringing people in. And so that's where that expense would be. Marketing and promotion would be marketing specifically related to the project. And again, you would want to make sure that when you're doing this, you indicate, and we'll ask you in the application, where you're marketing and what tactics you're using. And then finally, anything else that's not listed above that is, again, specifically identified with your tourist related activity would be under project materials and supplies. The cultural tourism marketing grant is most of the funding needs to be spent to promote and advertise your events outside of Leon County. So you can do media placement and promotion, promotional items, printed materials, website development, graphic design, marketing personnel. That would be the portion of their salary that's related to them marketing to tourists. And so some of that in your budget may not show just as the expense for like buying an ad, but it might be if you have a staff person that is dedicated to, posting your event on, event listings outside of Leon County. Video, CD-ROM, DVD production, public relations, media communications. We also, COCA and Visit Tallahassee both have cooperative advertising opportunities, and most of those are eligible expenses. There are regional newspaper, radio, magazine advertisements, outdoor billboards outside of Leon County, online advertisements or promoted posts on social media, advertisements in trade publications or journals, website development or enhancement, flyers or brochures, as long as they're distributed outside of Leon County. And finally, software equipment or services for hybrid programming. We did move last year away from the online only, but we do encourage people to do hybrid programming because we really feel like it increases the reach of visitors as well.
The COCA newsletter advertising rates have magically popped up in the chat. They're magically there. So you could download this.
So important dates for the cultural grant. The application deadline is May 6th. May 6th through the 12th, I will be reviewing your applications to confirm that you are eligible to apply for the program. That will be confirmed by the county May 13th through the 27th. May 20th, we'll have a panelist orientation. June 3rd, if you get feedback from the county that there's any issues with your program, that would be when you would need to have revisions back to them. And then on the June 10th would be the secondary Leon County. So if something gets sent back, they would have to let us know by the 10th. And then June 30th is the panel review meeting. And then for the cultural tourism marketing grant, the deadline for that is June 17th. With staff eligibility June 17th through the 23rd, county eligibility June 24th through July 8th. Application revisions deadline July 15th, secondary July 22nd, and August 25th will be the panel meeting. But I'm convinced that we will have everyone good this year and we will not have any revisions. We have created an online grants portal that is now live, and you can go there and fill out your application. And moving forward, FY23 on, all applications, all reporting, everything will be handled through the online grant system. So that link takes you to our kind of homepage, and then you can select the opportunity. We have added an eligibility quiz, and that's just kind of to help you understand whether or not you're eligible for the program. And so once you go through the quiz, if you're deemed eligible, then you will have access to the application. If for some reason you don't make it through the eligibility quiz, you can give me a call and we can talk about what you're doing. Because of our tourist development tax funding, there are some community facing programs that are very valuable programs, but unfortunately programs that we can't fund at this time. There are some alternative funding sources through the city and the county, the UPHS and the Bridge program. And I'm happy to talk to you also about other funding sources that might be available, and happy to help you out with that. Oh, and while you're doing your application, you can save and come back. So, and if for some reason you submit it and you decide before the deadline that you need to fix something, you can just let me know and I can return it to you. Oh, one more thing about submittable. So you will, when you go in, you'll need to set up an account. But the good thing about that is you can save, like, all your submissions will be there. If there's other opportunities with people that use submittable, you can use that. You have a place to upload documents and things. So that's the first step that you'll need to do, is you'll need to create an account. And so before you begin our application, you need to know your federal tax ID. You need to have your mission statement available. You need to have information about your current and proposed programs, information about your board and staff, your last year's operating budget, a plan for how you will spend the grant funds, impact data from last year, a plan to measure marketing efforts and track visitors, a marketing plan, including marketing tactics and target markets. And we're actually going to be hosting a workshop. I think it's next Monday, or no? Oh, you're muted.
Tuesday the 19th, that will be added to our communications for everybody, but it is set for Tuesday the 19th, and it will be recorded as well.
Sorry about that. The FedEx man came. My dogs are going crazy. So the marketing plan is a new addition this year. And really that's just for us to be able to identify that out of county marketing is happening. So again, if you don't have a marketing plan, don't freak out, because Erica's going to help you out. And we'll make sure that you have a marketing plan. We're also asking for a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. Now, this is the first year that we're asking for it, so it's optional. But if you don't have one, I do encourage you to consider doing that. And we have some resources about that if you're interested. If there's any partnerships that are indicated in the application, you would want to make sure that you have documentation of that. If you're applying as a state partner, you are required to have a letter of support from your agency head, division director, dean, department chair, or university supervising official. Now, the cool thing is, in the system, you have a choice when you indicate that you're a state partner. You can either upload a letter directly into the system, or you can send a request to that person that will email them, letting them know that they need to submit a letter. So that's pretty cool. And then also any support materials, might be programs, catalogs, publicity materials, samples, press coverage, etc. Anything that you think will help the panel better understand your organization and your programs.
Hey, Hillary, I have a question about that.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know in different years, sometimes it was like upload a certain number of pages or a certain number of items. And how does that work here this now with how much material can be uploaded, and how do you recommend, so part B is, how do you recommend they organize that? Like, should you do a PDF of like samples? What's going to be the best practice for people so they don't give like,
yeah, I would say that probably the best practice would be to like, if you have letters of support, maybe put those into one document. I mean, if you have a bunch of PDFs, you could certainly combine them. I think there's 6 uploads that are in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it limited then to a certain number?
It is, well, it is, because the guidelines, we indicate that there's a page limit. So,
Got it.
and of course, like we won't show any audiovisual materials during the panel, but you can, if you have links to, you know, online videos, or if you want to upload a video, you can upload the videos and images and things like that. I would say to kind of be very careful when you curate your support materials and make sure that you're putting really, you know, the best, least representation, just because as a panelist, you know, it can get a little bit overwhelming to have too much stuff. And somebody was asking about the collaboration feature. So what happens with the submittable is if you're filling out an application, you can invite someone to collaborate with you. And so like if you have a person, maybe you're doing the program part and you need someone else to do the budget, you can invite that person to collaborate on your application. Oh, I lost that question. I was reading this very long question. Yeah, so CTMG, oh, it's asking if it's 3,000 or 3,500. I think that it's 3,000, but I will confirm that because we had to kind of crunch the numbers. So I will confirm that with Nick.
Yep, I can answer that. So thank you, Catherine, for pointing that out. We were trying to be hawks about proofreading, but there were a couple of things that happened at the very, very last minute. And that's one of them, is that we had to change the level from 3,500 to 3,000. Just because of the funding pool for that is just not quite high enough to go to 3,500 yet. So my apologies that was not addressed, but thank you so much for pointing that out. And so yes, it's absolutely the 3,000 level for this year, which is higher than last year, and it's going the right direction. But we just weren't quite able to get to that 3,500 level for this year.
So someone's asking about the FY. So the budget that you're going to be asked for is your last completed fiscal year, and then your current, and then your proposed. I mean, I would say just do the best that you can to kind of look at what that's going to be like. I mean, if you apply for a state grant, you apply, you know, like 13 months ahead of time or something. So, you know, I just would just do the best that you can for that. So for the COVID stimulus amounts, is there a source at the county where we can, I don't know that. You could probably call over to the county and talk to someone in that office about how much you were awarded. I mean, I would think that maybe those would show up on your QuickBooks or something as a deposit, but probably you certainly could reach out to them.
And just to interject, Hillary, we also, you know, we are still in touch. We have a cohort of funders that we work with, and the county and the city and us. We're very much in touch with them during that. So anything that's lean or CARES or ARPA related, if you do have questions on that, we can help guide you to either the right person in the county and the city that can answer that question or help you gather some of that information.
You also could go into the portal. I know they have a neighborly portal that was used, I know, at least for ARPA and CARES. And so that information is there as well. So regarding the COVID protocol questions, so the COVID protocol questions are kind of where you're at now. I mean, this is a moving target, but the main thing is for us to get an idea if you are, you know, practicing any safety protocols so that we know, because there have been times where we have been asked to let people kind of know what is happening with our grantees. And so that's a way that we can kind of get an idea of at least, you know, what you're planning, understanding that, you know, that is a moving target. Let's see, I think that's everything in this one. Okay, so if you need help, you can reach out to us. You can email me, I'm Hillary, and that's a link to a calendar where you can book a 30-minute consultation with me via Zoom, or we can have coffee. Marketing questions will go to Erica, and payment questions will go to Nick, who is our business manager. And I'll probably reach out and try to set up a one-on-one with all of you. I did that last year, so I will probably do that again. Let me see.
And Hillary's Calendly link is in her signature line. So if you email
Yes.
her, it's there, and a bunch of my stuff's embedded in our signature line. So
Yeah, it's really handy because it checks my calendar and it tells me if I can meet with you or not. And I'm not always good at like figuring that out. So it manages my life. And it's free. So if you want one, you can get one. Trying to see if there's any more questions. Why don't we just go ahead and open up the floor? I think that I have done all the questions. Oh wait, looks like there's one more. And you can feel free to, yes, the PowerPoint will be available. You will receive an email. It will be a PDF, and we will also within 24 hours be posting a link to the recording. We'll post it on our website, in the Facebook event, and then also in the classified, that's in our classifieds. So that will be available to you. And the PDF is actually already in the classified. So if you are super eager, you can go get it now.
and so we are also uploading these events to YouTube. So if you go to TallahasseeArts.org, you'll see at the very top, there's some new, some new functionality with the calendar. It has like links to all our different channels, but we upload them there, and you'll be able to watch this as a replay there as well, with other exciting videos and artist talks.
Yep. Are there any more questions? Please review how to receive a saved draft from one's account. Are you meaning a saved draft in Submittable that you're working on? Chris, do you want to unmute? Or I think that if you log in and you can look at my submissions, but we can get together and I can help you with that. But there is on your account, you can see like my submissions. So it should come up there. But if for some reason it doesn't, let me know.
Hillary, I think that some of the questions can only, like, people are asking in the chat, but they can't see each other's questions. Can we change that, or do you only want them?
I don't know. I will try.
And I'm not sure they can.
We'll just do it. It would just be like if there was this was a Q&A and we were in an audience and you couldn't hear everybody. So we just want to, we just repeat the question too. So
yeah. So there was a question about, there's been a couple of questions about the deadline. And again, we moved that up so that we could, try to get the funds to you earlier, because our fiscal year begins in October. And so because of timing for TDC meetings and COCA board meetings, we needed to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Let me just see any more questions. And if you do have stimulus funding that you're needing to report in your operating budget, so if you got SFOG or something like that, there is a section that is like federal governmental support, and so it would be whatever entity it came from. So if it were like CARES and ARPA, it would be the county other. If it were like SFOG, it would be under federal. And Chris, I will get with you later about the Submittable, retrieving them. The good thing about Submittable is that they have technical support that they offer. So, and they're really, really great. So that is, a feature that we have that we're happy to have, because, it's just very helpful to have someone other than me that can help with these things. Because I'm not a Luddite, but I'm not a computer savant.
So for those of you who remember us marching into COCA with, huge tubs of binders, I think you'll be like really excited about, what Kathleen and Hillary have put together with Submittable. There was a lot of review for this, and having run the grants program before for a year and not being a grants manager and like seeing all the moving parts, to have this available for the community is just huge. I think y'all will find it really sophisticated. It'll help you with your reporting and the formatting. So it's a really, I'm super proud of this team and watching them put this together.
Oh, and what that reminds me, what I forgot to say, which is important, which is another change. So we have removed the technical score because you know, the system will add things for you. So you're not going to make those mistakes. And then any issues that you have when I'm confirming eligibility, I'll get with you to correct anything that's needed. So you're going to have a panel score. You're not going to have a technical score. So that is helpful, I think. And one of the things that we really like about Submittable is we feel like it kind of levels the playing field, because, you know, just because you can put together a really beautiful grant application doesn't mean that, you know, your programs are any more valuable than somebody who maybe doesn't have the capacity to make as fancy of a grant application. So, you know, applicants will be seeing everything kind of in the same format, and we think that that's important. And Chris,
these are such great questions, and absolutely. Let's see. Submit will let us know when we're approaching the page limit. So
okay. And there is a character, like I assigned characters to every question, so it should keep you running of where you're at. I mean, we addressed characters before in the PDF, but there wasn't a way to track it. So hopefully that's helpful. And if you guys have any feedback about the system, you know, just email me and let me know, or if you have any problems, because I can go in and work with, I have a person there that I can help, that can help me, and we can fix things that we need to fix. And Chris says there's a learning curve.
Yep. Janet asked about the page limit. Will Submittable basically notify any applicant about page limits?
So what we did, and I'll have to confirm, but so there was previously a page limit. So basically now it's just, I think that you can upload 6 things, because that was just the only way that I knew how to do it. And I don't even think they have a size limit. Like they have a lot of, that was one of the things we liked about them too. Like we have all this space to store things and upload things, but I would just like, you know, encourage you to, you know, be very, you know, brief but thorough in your attachments, just because like I'm reviewing grants right now and I'm reviewing like 40 of them, and you know, you can overkill with the support materials, but yeah.
So Hillary, is there a character limit then instead of a word limit?
There are character limits on the different questions, and it indicates what they are. They were there in the previous application, but because it was a PDF document, it was a little harder to track. This actually has a running character count. So when you reach the limit, it'll tell you as you're running out of time.
And is that per section then, per question?
Yes, per question. Each question has its own. So we have a question about new to grant writing, taking over an existing grant, any basic fundamental broad words of advice. Well, first of all, I would say, because Southern Shakespeare has done really well in the past, I would look at past applications, and if you don't have access to them, I have access to them. But then also I would just say, make sure when you're answering the question that you're answering, you know, what is asked, and that you're doing so as clearly and concisely as possible. There is formatting available. So if you're listing things, bullet them, you know, just make it as easy to read for the panelists as possible. And also, if anybody ever wants to see a copy of an application, because our applications are public record, you could ask for a copy as well of an example of someone that scored very high. And I'm happy to talk to you too if you have any questions, and you can set up an appointment with me and I will go over. Because we're not doing the technical review, we're not doing the courtesy review in the same sense, but you can submit your application and I can go over it and then, give you feedback. As long as you give me some time before the deadline, like at least a week before the deadline.
I do want to jump in real quickly and thank all of the current grantees. Most everybody's been communicating really well with marketing, but I'm just going to throw out a gentle reminder that you do go back and look at the logo use guidelines. They're not going to change from last year to this year. We still have some people linking to, occasionally wrong places, or just, maybe not having checked with me before you put the logos on. So it would be really great if you have any questions to meet with me, review those guidelines again on logo use, and please put your things on the calendar early. If you've got questions about that, let me know. But that's how we are simulcasting those events with Visit Tallahassee, with Choose Tallahassee. We're doing articles for you. We're boosting your posts. We're boosting the newsletters. We do a lot with that info. So I'm just going to encourage everybody to please get your events up early. Again, totally happy to meet with everybody always. And just let me know how I can be of help.
And if you ever have events that you want us to come to, let us know. We try to do as much as we can, but I know, there are like some festivals and things that have asked us. So, COCA is available to do that as much as we can. We're a lean group, but like, Word of South has asked us to come. I'm trying to think of,
and I've got so many ways for you to promote with behind the scenes, with new features coming up. Just as long as everyone gets with me, that would be great. I'm going to put my ways to engage handout again. I shared it at the beginning of the webinar, but I just really want to have everybody download that, because that is like a super great handy dandy cheat sheet of how to get your organization more promotional exposure.
Absolutely. And we're hiring too. So if you know anybody that is looking for a gig, our Amanda Carriott Thompson is leaving. And so we have a public art and programs opportunity where, oh, my battery's running low, sorry, where you can do the artwork at the airport and the city hall and work on our public art programs, or we have an arts education position as well. And those are on our website, and I believe in a classified too. I'm not sure. They're all over the place. So, or you can just email us.
They are in those job postings. I guess we're in kind of general announcements right now. So if this is a grant web or workshop, so if you still have grant questions, please let us know. But we do have some general announcements, obviously, that we wanted to take advantage of your time and having you in the room to share. And two of them are that if you haven't heard, we do have 2 positions open right now: the public art position and the arts education manager. And it's arts education, not art education. So it's performing arts, visual arts, you name it. So those are both on our website. Yep, and Erica's posting those. Those applications will be open, one till the end of April, the other till the beginning of May. So if you know folks that would be interested in those, please, we'd appreciate you just passing those on.
And we did have one more question about the grant. So if you're awarded the funds, we will, as soon as you execute your contract, if you're a cultural tourism marketing grantee, you'll get your whole award at the beginning of the fiscal year. If you are a cultural grantee, anything levels 1, 2, and 3 will receive 2 payments. So you'll get a payment at the beginning, and then after you complete your interim report, you'll get a second payment. If you're a group 4, which those are the smaller awards, you'll get the entire amount at the beginning of the grant period. And we do that to, kind of support our smaller organizations and help them with issues, with cash flow and et cetera.
These are great questions. One of the things that we've been very aware of in the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic going on, is how much has changed. I feel like this has been lightning speed in regards to what the sectors had to deal with between presenting your programming, between funding your programming, keeping your organizations rolling, and so on. Again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate all the work you've been doing. We also know this is another change that is being thrown at you that we have been trying to put in place, at least for the last probably 3 or 4 years. It's certainly before I was here. I think there was a desire to make sure that everything was online and increasing accessibility. We also understand that there's a learning curve, as was pointed out, and we are here to help out with that. We have free services, meeting with Hillary, meeting with me, with Erica, whatever you need in order for you to be successful. We want to make sure that we've got that you have our time and that we are here for you to make sure that everything's taken care of. So when you hit the submit button, you're confident that you've done everything you can to make sure that your application is competitive, that it is correct, and that you've met the requirements of the guidelines. So it's just been a really fast process here. So let's just make sure that you get what you need. Please just feel free to reach out. Hillary's being your main contact on this, but then again, like I said, Erica and I are also available as needed.
There's, another really good thing I want to mention too is that, TDT collections are healthy. I mean, you all are doing a really, really good job of promoting and supporting each other. And as a community, like, we look like an area with a ton of interesting things to do. And I just want to applaud what I see a lot of you doing, where you're sharing each other's posts and you're lifting us all up as a sector. And I'm seeing a lot more engagement. And if you ever want to chat with me on how to do that, but we are not each other's competition. Our competition is sports and Netflix. So the more we can work together as a sector, and I'm just seeing it more and more. So thank you to everybody for stepping up like that. It's making a difference.
Yes, thank you. And the other thing that has been really helpful about today for us is the perspectives and the information that you've shared in both the Q&A and in the chat. So we will also look at trying to put together a frequently asked questions page, so that as you look at submittable and what else, I think here comes Hillary. If we look at submittable, and especially since it's new software for everyone, we can try to help each other out and just making sure little things about the software that can kind of help you save time, that we collect those pointers and make sure you've got some access to that. We've done that with some of the other grant programs we've been involved with the county and the city, and oftentimes grantees and applicants find that very helpful.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
You're back.
Yep, I'm back.
Okay, that's great.
Well, I think that if there aren't any more questions, we'll go ahead and be respectful of your time. You can have 12 minutes to wolf down your lunch. And like I said, this recording will be available within 24 hours. And I will also be sending out the PDF of this. It's also available on the classified as well. And please feel free to use the Calendly link to set up an appointment with me. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.